Hey guys, welcome in. So today we're going to recap USC's 45-17 win over Fresno State. This was a really good win for USC. It's always great to start the year 3-0. Truth be told, I was a little worried going into this one. It was great to see USC get out ahead early and never put the game in jeopardy. Alright, so let's dive into the game review. Let's start with talking about the offense. Alright, so first I want to talk about Jordan Addison. He is an absolute superstar. He is as advertised. He is an elite #1 wide receiver in college football. He looks to be every bit the reigning Biletnikoff winner. He has the speed, he has the hands, he has the route running. He's just the entire package, and he is a perfect fit for this Lincoln Riley offense. I was worried prior to the season starting that it might take some time for Caleb and Jordan's chemistry to gel, but we've seen it from week 1 on. Those two are just on the same page all the time. And it really makes you wonder, where is this going to go? What is the ceiling between these two? What kind of numbers are they going to put up? Going into the season, I think I really underestimated the impact that Addison was going to have. But it is crystal clear to me now that there is not a better wideout in all of college football. Now moving to the running game, this is exactly what I wanted to see. I know it's what a lot of Trojan fans wanted to see as well. The offensive line and the running backs absolutely took over this game. I think it's fair to say that Travis Dye and Austin Jones are the best 1-2 punch of running backs in the entire Pac-12. When you look at the numbers from this game, it really paints the picture of how dominant the running game was. Travis Dye had 11 carries for 102 yards and a touchdown. Austin Jones had 12 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown, and they each averaged above 9 yards per carry. They absolutely got after this Fresno State run defense. It was great to see. When you see the running game have a game like that, it really shows you how truly balanced this offense can be. They can attack you in so many different ways. If a defense tries to take away one particular thing, something else is going to be open instead. And this offense is good enough to be able to exploit that, which is a really nice change at USC. Now, taking a look at Caleb Williams and the passing game, I definitely think it's fair to say that this was Caleb Williams' least efficient game in the 3 games he's had at USC. Of course, Caleb Williams is so good that in this case we're still talking about a 284-yard, 4 total touchdown performance. He still hasn't turned the ball over, although I do feel like there were a few things he could have done better. There were times I didn't feel like he was seeing the field all that well, especially early on in that game. He had a few guys wide open for sure touchdowns and he didn't see them. I also felt like he held on to the ball too long, particularly in that second quarter. A couple times he had his check down open that would have for sure resulted in a first down had he thrown it, but Caleb seemed to be looking for the big play downfield and instead threw incompletions. But overall, he still put up a lot of points, he never put his team in a bad spot, and he still hasn't turned the ball over, so I'm honestly just nitpicking at this point. A note to all potential future USC wideouts: if you want to play in this offense, you have to block your ass off. Although he's not the biggest guy out there, the effort that Mario Williams puts into the blocking game is absolutely phenomenal. You look downfield on some of these screenplays and you see him and Brendan Rice absolutely getting after it. And expanding on that blocking conversation, I want to bring up Lake McCree and the step he's taken in regards to him being a blocker. I am so impressed with the leap that Lake McCree has taken in the blocking game. You look at him this year and he is burying and finishing people. He's gotten really nasty, and I'm really excited to see what happens when they start targeting him a lot in the pass game. Sticking with the tight ends, if you had Malcolm Epps getting an interception in this game, hats off to you. It was also great to see him get in the end zone. He really deserves it. That size, strength, speed combination he has is really intriguing, and I'm curious to see where the coaching staff is going to go from here. Is it a matchup thing where if we're playing a smaller defense, he's going to get a lot more run? Or is he going to eventually carve out a consistent role for himself in the offense? We'll just have to see, I guess. Now moving on to the offensive line, you saw them be dominant in the run game, which was fantastic to see. Andrew Voorhees is an absolute animal in there. But the one thing I have consistently said all season long in regards to the offensive line is that the top 6 is great. But if you start to get injuries, it's going to look real shaky. And we saw that in this game with Cortland Ford not going at all and Bobby Haskins getting hurt. And then in comes Mason Murphy, and that was a tough first rep for Mason. For this team to achieve their goals, the offensive line has to stay healthy. I don't think that's a negotiable. The depth just isn't there yet for this offensive line. I'm sure it will be in time, but for this year, they have to stay healthy. Overall, for the offense, I thought it was a very solid performance. The running game looked great. So now let's talk about the defense. Alright, I think it's time to say that the run defense is bad, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. They simply don't have the dudes on the defensive line right now. You see the D tackles getting blown off the ball, the run fits are poor, you see this run defense get gashed over and over again. This run defense is going to have to play much better against Oregon State or they're going to be in big trouble. Now, despite that, this defense does a remarkable job at limiting points. They allow a lot of yards and they allow a lot of big plays, but when it gets down to the red zone, they really tighten things up. A lot of people are saying that the USC defense got bailed out by Jake Haener getting hurt. And just a little side note, I just want to say I feel so bad for Jake. He was playing so well. He's a phenomenal quarterback, and I know he's going to have a really bright future. But having said that, he was still in the game in the third quarter with 13 minutes left to go, and Fresno State only had 10 points up on the board. The backup quarterback Fife came in and went 11-12 for 140 yards, so I don't really think things would have played out differently. Now I want to talk about Tuli Tuipulotu. The impact he has on this team cannot be understated. He's the best player on this defense, and he's the most consistent player on this defense. He's gotten pressure every single game. He's getting double and triple teamed sometimes. He always shows up and shows out. He's the most important player on this USC defense. Solomon Byrd looks to have locked down that edge 1 position. He's a guy you can't help but root for, coming into the year number 3 on the depth chart, and then getting his opportunity and absolutely crushing it. His strip sack in this game is arguably the most important play that happened throughout the entire game. If he can be a consistent pass rushing threat, that's going to open things up for everybody else on that defensive line, and the linebackers included. Now I also want to talk about Corey Foreman. I know there's been a lot of questions about his work ethic and his practice habits, but on the first touchdown that Fresno State scored on that stick concept that Bullock completely overran, you look downfield and you see that big number 0 chasing him in a full sprint. You love to see the effort. You know the coaching staff is going to love that play as well. So let's hope that this is sort of a new beginning for Corey and he can get on the field and be consistently dominant. Now let's talk about the turnovers. Obviously the USC defense got 2 more in this game, and I think that the turnovers are starting to look more like a trend than a flash in the pan for this defense. This is what Alex Grinch preaches, and the defense is going out and executing it. Now let's talk about Eric Gentry. I think that Eric Gentry is far and away this team's best linebacker. He's the best tackler on the team, and his length is such an issue, especially in the red zone like we saw in that batted pass. He played great in this game. He led the team in tackles, and I can't wait to see where he goes for the rest of this season. Now, Bullock looked to be a bit banged up. He really wasn't himself out there. He wasn't tackling very well. He made a few big mistakes. So hopefully he'll be healthy and be a full go for this Oregon State game, because I know we're going to need him. So overall, a very up and down performance from this USC defense. Need to shore up that run defense, but great job limiting the points. And I think that overall the identity of this defense looks to be set. They're a bend but don't break defense. They tighten up in the red zone, they get takeaways, and they let the USC offense score a bunch of points so that they can tee off on the passer. Alright, so just some overall finishing thoughts. This has been a perfect start for the Trojans. 3-0 is huge. The ceiling of this team looks to be a playoff contender, but we'll see. It's fantastic to see the running game really take off. Rayleigh Brown hasn't even been playing much. It seems like they're resting him after he got a little banged up against Rice. Oregon State is going to be an enormous test for this USC team. I feel like we're really going to learn a lot about them this Saturday night. My preview for that game is going to be up Friday, so check that out if you're interested. But that'll wrap it up for this game review, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Fight on!